I don't need a microphone. I spent 45 minutes on the parade square at Sandhurst learning how to shout. The Sergeant Major taught us for 45 minutes how to project your voice. So I'm going to do this without a microphone. And I hope you can hear me at the back. I am a human being. I'm going to take myself off the podium that Gerd has so kindly just put me on and say that I'm just a man who was in a place confronted with a choice, and I made a choice. I made the choice based on the way that I've been brought up, the training I've been given in the army, and I call this lecture at times looking at the man in the mirror. When I talk you through the experience of what happened and how it happened and how I came to make that choice, then you'll understand why it's about looking at the man in the mirror. It could be the woman in the mirror if you're the woman, but I happen to be a man. And if I can get this to work. So, that's me, encapsulated in one picture. If you cut me, I'm green, I'm not red inside. I was a soldier, I wanted to be a soldier when I was 5. I happen to believe that being a soldier is about protecting the defenceless and doing good in the world and having to back off those who would be aggressors. I've always believed that. I will believe that to my dying day. And I stand still in honour of what I did and what others do and put themselves in that position to do to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The other major things in my life is that I have a fantastic family, and I come back to that, and I will come back to that, because they have supported me in having gone beyond where they thought they were going to go, and where they thought I was going to go. The other little bits here, I wanted to have a little insights for you. This is a school in Nepal. I went for a walk, a trek in Nepal, when I was a businessman. I was the IT director for Domino's Pizza in the UK and put it online. And we took a trek out to Nepal, and then came back and mugged some businessmen to take some good profits and put it into building a school. So you can persuade people to do good with profit. Here's another little joke picture. We took a douche across the Sahara and got some more businessmen to give us some more money to go and sell it at the far end and give that to build another school in Gambia. I had great fun driving 6,500 miles. But we almost got killed 3 times, but we actually did some good and got some corporates to actually do some good at the back of it. So that's where I'm coming from. Let me take you to who the players are within the story. And I just have to briefly explain some of these terms to you. I got a job with a subsidiary of EADS. You should know EADS, it's the biggest European defence and aerospace manufacturer. They have a subsidiary in Saudi Arabia called GPT Special Projects Management Limited. I got the job through a normal recruitment process through the Sunday Times, which is a very well-respected newspaper. I got recruited through a proper recruitment agency, went through 2 fairly major interviews, and a flight out to Dubai to meet the managing director and the HR director, and more about her later, because the HR director of this Saudi-based British company is Princess Noura bint Abdullasad bin Saud. Now, there are 2 things that are rather peculiar about that. One is that she's a woman in a director's post in a foreign company in Saudi Arabia. And the second one is that she's a princess of the Saudi royal family. That was explained because we were dealing with special projects and we did the communications for the Saudi royal palaces. So we put in their communications, therefore you're in a closed environment, and she was there to ensure that you had the right liaison into the Saudi family's property and protective mechanisms. And one of the major protective mechanisms, of course, is the Saudi Arabian National Guard. And the Saudi Arabian National Guard is formed of those tribes who have sworn allegiance to the Saudi royal family. It's called the White Army, It's 100,000 strong, and it's armed with the latest defence equipment. Now, in 1978, the British government signed a memorandum of understanding with the Saudi government to support the Saudi Arabian National Guard with technical advice for its communications. And they set up a team called SANCOM, Saudi Arabia National Guard Communications Team. This is a military team, military and civil servant team of about 120 people that lives in Riyadh and is dispersed in the major centres of conurbation around the country. And they liaise with the National Guard to give technical advice, give support, and also to act as governance, assurance, and with a slight political role, to make sure that what the prime contractor, GPT, offers to fulfil the requirement is fit for task and at the right price. Now that all makes a lot of sense at the moment. EADS is the new owner. They've owned GPT since 2007. Before 2007 it was owned by Marconi Electronics, and before that by Cable & Wireless. The customer is the UK MOD. GPT only has one customer. By its articles and constitutions, it can only have one customer. That one customer is not the Saudi Arabian National Guard. One customer is the UK Ministry of Defence. So we now have a UK subsidiary who is registered in London, files its accounts in London, and has a UK office, working to EADS, which is Berlin-based, but Astrium and Paradigm is actually Paris-based, for the UK MOD. The other major player in the game is UK DSO, United Kingdom Trade and Industry, Defence and Security Organisation. Because you're selling prescribed goods overseas, they ensure that anything that is exported has a proper licence and is done properly to the right people for the right ends. So they're the major players. So where did we go? And what happened? I'm going to take you through this because it's like a murder mystery. And in a good murder mystery, you don't get the body up front. You find a little bit of blood, you find a knife, you find the car keys in the wrong place, and eventually you get led through to the body. And then you have to find out who done it. It ain't just the butler, okay? So really it's a story of what happened. Imagine me, you know, I've picked up a super duper job. I've been trained for 25 years in military communications in the army. I've commanded a regiment on operations. I did Bosnia. I put the communications into Bosnia when we took over the UN role. I then went and worked for 2 years in the Ministry of Defence in operational requirements and in the procurement executive, dealing with major corporations and actually running a programme, a 15-year programme for what we call basket weaving, which is taking all the different requirements, mapping them out into projects over a 15-year period, and measuring the budgets and making sure that that actually balances against the overall budget that's allocated to your sector. And that is programme direction, and then managing that against the different requirements. And actually, the job I got picked up for was programme director. So I knew about how to do programme direction, I knew about all the types of equipment, and I knew about the defence company manufacturing world. The only bit I didn't really know about was Saudi Arabia. But that was a bit of a challenge because I've worked overseas in, I've now done 54 different countries, so Saudi was a new country. It was a great jumping off point. And it worked well for the family because I've got 3 fairly grown-up children who could come and visit us post-university. We could go and see India and the Far East. It was all going to work. And a very amenable wife who's a teacher who could teach in Saudi Arabia anyway. And so we went out there, and then things started happening that didn't sound right, and didn't feel right, and didn't quite fit with my experience. My experience in the military for 25 years, and then my experience in commercial life as an operations director, as an IT director. And as a director of companies, both on the commercial side and on the technical side, things just didn't follow what I'd seen and heard before. And then I came to a point where I had to produce not just evidence and feelings and suspicions, but actual hard fact. And you were then faced with a choice of, you know where it is, you know where you think it is, you have to go and get it. But as soon as you've gone to get it, you've made an active step. And if anybody finds out about that active step, they know that you're the enemy, and they're going to take action if they're involved. And then you come to a second point in having got the evidence, what do you do with the evidence? Because now you have to go through it and make sure that it's really what you think it is, and whether it's right, whether it's wrong, and whether you're going to take that next step in producing it to the authorities. So I'll take you through the sequence of getting the proof, blowing the whistle once and blowing the whistle twice, because the first lot didn't do what they were meant to do. And then the effect of that. So let me show you next what the red flags or the alarm bells were. When I got there, I found out that I was the third programme director of a 10-year programme worth £1.96 billion. Work that one out in euros, I don't know, it's about 2-point-something billion euros. So you have got a funded project of, you can spend 200 million euros a year for 10 years. Funded. The money is there. You just have to do the competition, turn up with the goods, and then make it, implement and deliver the project. And then I found I was the third director in 6 months. Why? Well, the first director was in post, and I found, after about a month, that he had been recruited because he knew the finance director out of Paris. He'd worked next to him. He'd actually been a managing director of an automotive parts company based in Paris. So why he was given a role to do procurement direction on military communications in Saudi Arabia kind of missed me, or not. But he actually put his hand up when he got there with his family, young family, and said, actually, chaps, I can't do this. I don't know the military environment, I don't know the communications environment, but you've got me here, so what are you going to do? So they gave him another role in special projects, and didn't cut his salary too much, and he was happy. And they got a second programme director who had a PhD in programme direction. Sounds good. Except, and he's a lovely bloke, I have actually met him thereafter. But, again, he had never worked with military communications, he'd never worked in Saudi Arabia, and actually, he was good on paper, but I'm told, and actually I have some sympathy with it, he wasn't actually a people person. He couldn't interact with people, he couldn't manage people. So I can understand that he resigned after 3 months, and then they came looking and found me. So I then come into no programme plan. So here you are, I arrive in the programme, and we have an office on the 20th floor of the Foxley Tower in the middle of Riyadh, and another set of offices on the 25th floor of the Foxley Tower in Riyadh. This costs a lot of money, believe me. And I say, okay, where's the programme plan? And they say, there isn't one. Your job is to produce a programme plan. And I said, well, okay, right, fine. Except that you've been doing this for 6 months. So what have you done so far? You've got some projects in place. Seem a bit of a muddle, but okay. Show me what the requirement is. Now, for those of you who don't know project management is really down to 3 things. Specification, what do you want? When do you want it by, time, and how much money have you got? Now, it's like a 3-legged stool. You can take one of those and you can alter it. And if you do, you have to pay for it with the other 2 legs. So, if I want a Mercedes-Benz, top of the line, I specify what I want. My wife says, I want it tomorrow, and I try and find a garage that can let me have it tomorrow. I'm going to pay a premium for that. So, time down, money up. Or I can say, well, let's drop the specification, let's go and get a Beetle or Volkswagen and get it next week. You can see immediately money comes down. So it's an equation that works with sophisticated equipment and cars.
15 minutes.
I'll be very quick now. So I sat down, I rewrote a program plan, took it back, and said, what's my budget? And the finance director said, you haven't got a budget. And I said, well, hang on. You've got £10 billion in a program, you bid for this program, you must have put together a project plan of how you were going to cost it out. And he said, no, we didn't go to competition. I said, well, hang on, no, you can't do that, because UK procurement rules say that if you're over 150 million, you have to go to competition. And he said, no, this is single source. We were given the contract. Okay, that's really interesting. So we want you to do it on a cost basis for the first year, and then we'll build a budget thereafter. So I went to the ops director and said, well, you've been running a project of about 10 million for the past year. Show me what your profile was, because you've got local costings, local agencies, you know how it should run, and this is just a very big version of yours. And he said, I'll give you some headlines, but I won't show you the detail. And by now, you know, I'm beginning to get serious alarm bells going on. So I look at the current projects, and when I rewrite the program and show them what they have been doing, what they should be doing, I find that everything they've been looking at is equipment-based and for now. So, for instance, we're buying an electronic warfare regiment. This is 500 million euros worth, okay? But we're taking out the contracts and we're looking at the equipment now. And I just ask a very simple question. I come from that environment, part of my life was, when you have that kind of equipment, you put it in special secure garages. And you have specially trained people to do it because it's very sophisticated equipment. Have you started a recruitment program? Have you trained the trainers? And where's the infrastructure plan to actually build the garages to put the kit in? And I got told, don't worry about that, go and buy the kit. Okay, and that happened 2 or 3 times. Anyway, let me just rush you through the next bit and show you, because it's very interesting. If you take the Watergate ideal, follow the money. The money goes from a statement of operational requirement and goes to the Ministry of Finance in Saudi Arabia. Then it goes into a UK-held bank account by the military team in Riyadh. It then gets paid out on invoices produced by the prime contractor, who then pay the subcontractors. And one of the things I found was that there were extra subcontractors who I didn't know about. And when I asked the question, who are these subcontractors, I got told, that's not your business. Your business is to produce the program. And I come back to that thing about money, time, and specification. As a program director, if you're signing your name at the bottom of something, you are actually signing that you are getting a product and you are authorising the money. I'll give you the example. We're building, this is a little bit of a very big thing, a fully air-conditioned, gee whiz headquarters in the middle of the desert, called a staff working environment. That is the actual document with the signatures on it. Actually, you'll see my signature because that's signed the day after I left the country. At the bottom there, and this is where I started questioning things, you'll find here's how much it costs, here's the prime contractor's charges, there's an extra line in here that says bought-in services. And I was told originally on the small projects, these were things we don't have in the company and therefore we buy them in. And when it's a small project and it's only £15,000, £20,000, actually, you can say, okay, well I understand that, that's cleaning or auditing, etc. This is the first major project. Divide by 6. That is £1.5 million for bought-in services. And I just say, hey, stop. What am I buying? What am I signing £1.5 million for? Because I can't see it around here. And who am I giving it to? And I got told, go away. And that's when it starts getting on. What happened was that effectively I got the information. I had a witness who had been previously the financial controller of the company, and he tried to blow the whistle and had been bought off and was about to just come back from Paris and was about to sign a compromise agreement with enough to keep him quiet in it and a ganging clause. He gave me information as to where the information was, the hard evidence, and I went and got it. And I gave it to the brigadier, because I'd warned the brigadier that there was something wrong. And he said, bring me the evidence. So I gave it to him. And I sat and waited. Well, I actually sent it to him by email. And I sat and waited, expecting a phone call. And a phone call didn't come. 4 hours later, I did get a phone call. But it's from the managing director, saying, Ian, come and talk to me. And I went to his office, and he was there, and the princess was there, and he said, you've been sending things to the MOD. And I said, yeah. And he said, what is it? And I said, proof of corruption. Your corruption. And he said, no, you should have brought it to me. And I said, I can't bring it to you. It's your signature on the bottom of it, and the finance director's. So I gave it to the only person I could trust, which was the British military team. They are the customer. I've known them for 20 years, most of them. And he said, right, well, in this country, that's theft of company information. I can have you arrested and jailed. In fact, I'm going to call the police and have you arrested and jailed. Can't I, Nora? And Nora, the princess, sat there and said, certainly, Jeff. He said, right, go and stop all access to the IT system. So she stood up, took her mobile, and walked out. And he started ranting at me, and I thought, Foxley, you're a couple of blue words there, but you're stuffed. You're sitting on the 20th floor of the Foxley Tower. A Saudi princess has just threatened to have you arrested and walked out with a mobile. If you are arrested by the Saudi royal family in this country with that information, likelihood is you're not going anywhere very quickly. So I walked out, literally stood up, took my diary, walked out, and went through 2 security doors and past the receptionist and waved at him. And went to the lift door, one lift door, hoping she wasn't going to come at me. And hoping the police were not going to bundle out of the lift at me. And I rang the MOD team from the lift. And I said, I've just been threatened with arrest and jail. And then, strangely enough, their first remark was, are you all right? We tried to get hold of you. Get to us now. And we met, and they said, right, get out of the country. Just drop everything, go now. And I got out that night, literally. Came back to the UK, went to the compliance department of EADS in Paris, where they were really, really delightful people. On the 6th floor, we had a lovely cup of tea, and then I was shown the door again. And then I went to the MOD in UK, and I said, I want to see the general in charge of this programme. And he's a chap I've been to school with. And his PA said, actually the general can't see you, but would you mind talking to his senior commercial man? So I sat with his senior commercial man, and I'd written out a paper describing everything, and I gave it to him, and I said, right, there you go. Here's the proof. If you don't do something about it, I'm going to. Okay? I give you first call. You can take it to the serious fraud office, or you can do with it what you want to do. But if you have not done anything with it within the next month, I'm going to the serious fraud office, and then I'm going to the papers. So, you get first chance. And they did. They did actually take it to the serious fraud office, and we spent some time, and it is now subject to a formal criminal investigation. And I really do need to burn through 2 things. I'll burn through that one, because the problem we now come up against is whether the company that I'm showing the evidence against is too big to fail, or you can't allow it to fail. And who should be answerable? To my mind, there is certainly enough evidence to put the executive directors in the dock. We got it in the dock in England. You should also have a jolly good look at the executive directors within the corporation above the subsidiary, because somebody must have signed it off. You should also have a jolly good look at the group compliance department, because they knew about it, and I have proof that they've known about it for 3 years. You should then look at whether the UK MOD and UK DSO were complicit, negligent, or willfully blind. There is no other option. You either knew about it and ignored it, or you knew about it and let it happen, or you were actually party to it. And I think it's about time that somebody stood up and answered those questions. And in fact, I then found some articles out of the National Archive in Kew. Responsibilities had changed, and certain documents got put into the National Archive, and they showed, in fact, that the government had known about it for 32 years. Where did the money go? Well, the money went from the company through HSBC, through London, and through New York, and then out to the Cayman Islands. So let's have a look at HSBC's money laundering. Let's have a look. I'm sorry, Alexander. Yeah. Let's have a look at the auditors. Because the auditors should have been audited. You can't hide 100 million a year. You can't do it. Or if you're doing it, then somebody knows about it and has turned a blind eye to it. And let's go back and have a look at who was doing what beforehand. So it's not just a simple case of, oh, those directors were wrong. And I go back to Al Yamama and what was happening with the typhoon in 2006, 2007. Blair said we're not going to prosecute. How was that taken by the major defence companies? Was it taken that this was national security and anti-terrorism, therefore we couldn't prosecute? Was it taken as a carte blanche that if you've got big enough friends, and if you're well enough connected in government, you're going to get away with it? Hide it better. I'll leave you with that thought. There are many, many thoughts to come,
Right.
but I leave you with that thought.
Yeah. Thank you, Ian. You certainly made your point. I'm cutting you off here a little bit. I mean, you have delivered. Thank you very much. I would just like to give you a possibility to interact now, pose a question or come up with a comment so that Ian also understands how you take it. It's certainly a thrilling story and very interesting.
I'll just add a postscript to that, because there is a follow-up, and that's at the OECD. Because there's the anti-bribery convention, and that involves a review of all member countries, because Britain was one, by that committee, and Britain failed. And it caused a huge uproar from other members of the OECD, and a huge pressure bang on to the British government. And also it was picked up by the law courts. And so the courts ruled, in this case, that what seemed to be an agreement, which seemed to be rather soft, was going to be used in a common law case. So, and then Britain now has changed its law in the meantime.
Thank you for that. In the Phase 3 report that you produced, actually, it quoted me, I took GPT to an employment tribunal for wrongful dismissal, and it failed. What shouldn't have failed on a legal technicality, because they argued that because my contract was in Saudi Arabia, albeit it was a British company with a British customer on a British contract, and funneling money through London, there was no jurisdiction under statute law in England to cover expatriate workers. And I'm giving evidence to the Whistleblower Commission in 2 weeks' time, actually 1 week's time, to actually bring that point out, because 2 or 3 other whistleblowers have been caught by the same legal chicanery, and I use that word with emphasis, because they know what they're doing. These corporates know exactly how they're staggering it.
Here's a question.
Your story is really amazing.
Speak up a bit.
I think your story is really amazing, and the biggest question I have when you talk about it is that demonstrate the courage and your faith. And I'm not naming it as a value or as a virtue, whatever it is, but it's like you have your own faith and your courage. And my question is, where does this courage and all your faith come from? You talk about your previous background and your experience in the military. So if you can share a bit your source of your courage.
Okay, 2 things, 3 things. Number 1, I'm Catholic, and I'm a practicing Catholic. I come from a matriarchal family, I'm one of 7. I'm number 3 son in a matriarchal family. My mother is a very strong consultant haematologist and mother of 7. 89, and her brain's gone, but she's lovely. Anyway, so that's number 1. Number 2 is actually military training, I think, because we had a very much like the American military, you know, this is right, this is wrong, this is how you behave. And you ask certain questions, you know, if you give me the privilege of having to point a gun, I do it for the right reasons. I make my actions, I make my decisions for the right reasons. And thirdly, I'll show a bit more of my petticoat. My father was convicted of corruption in defence procurement. He was a director, civil servant of the Ministry of Defence. If you look him up, you'll find him. And he was convicted of taking commissions for defence procurement contracts. I watched what that did to my mother, to my brothers and sisters, and it's one of the reasons that I left the family. I was a fast-flying, high-profile colonel, and I got told that I could never go and work in that part of the organisation, and that I was career limited because of my family history. And that, you know, when I am then faced in a defence procurement environment with making a decision about will I sign off corruption or not, there is no way I'm going to do that. And quite frankly, they're barking. I think they thought I was involved in it, and therefore, you know, hey, get Foxley, hey, he'll tick it off. No, they got the wrong man. And fundamentally, I call it looking at the man in the mirror. One day, you will look at the man in the mirror or the girl in the mirror, and there's nobody else there. There's you and your God. And you in there, you're looking yourself in the eye. There's no one else to lie to. You just say, did you do the right thing? Did you really, in your heart of heart, make the right decision and do the right thing? That's what it's about. I can't put it any other way.
Thank you very much for this conversation. Yeah, Ian, thank you very much. I mean, you have shown with your last remark how much guts it takes and how much mental preparation to really stand up to those kind of forces. And that is, I believe, why we also understand that whistleblowers need protection, and whistleblowers need a lot of help for their courage that they are showing. So thank you very much again to you, and I hope you will stay with us and benefit from the rest of the program as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.